It's time for Jon David on Law, a legal perspective with Prosecutor Jon David, candidate for District 13 District Attorney. For more information about Jon David's campaign to bring honest, integrity-driven law enforcement to Bladen, Brunswick, and Columbus counties, please check out his website at jondavidforda.com. And now, along with Jon David, here's the host of the program, Robbie Kendall.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Jon David on Law, our chance to chat with Prosecutor Jon David, candidate for District Attorney here in Bladen, Brunswick, and Columbus counties. And John, you know the election is right around the corner, and there's going to be one big question everybody's going to be asking themselves. I guess you'd call it that burning question. How do I decide who I'm going to vote for District Attorney? So, John, what are a few of the things people should take into consideration when they consider this race?
That is an important question. You know, and it's not about politics. It's not about where you're from. Ultimately, it's about track record and experience and what a person values. And fortunately, in this case, we have a clear choice between the candidates. There's a meaningful difference between Butch Pope and myself. And I'm hoping people focus on our qualifications and experience and look to merit and ability in this important election.
District Attorney is a totally different sort of race, you know, whether it's a state house race or a U.S. congressional race. People can look at key issues that are important to them, right to life, taxes, things like that. What are a few of the things people should look at issue-wise when they decide who they're going to vote for District Attorney?
Well, before we talk about what it is, let's talk about what it isn't, and it has nothing to do with political affiliation. After all, criminals don't ask you what party you belong to before they put a gun to your head. Whether you have an R or D behind your name, all of us are united in a common belief that our children deserve our protection and that we should have equal justice under the law. And so when you ask yourself who should be district attorney, you start by eliminating one of the clear demarcations for politics, which is whose political party that person belongs to.
Yeah, because you don't cut taxes, you don't pass policy, you enforce the law.
That's exactly right, Robbie.
You've dealt with, I know, many years as a prosecutor, you've had to deal with people of all political parties, Democrats, Independents, Republicans. It probably gives you a unique perspective as you step into the courtroom and enforce justice for victims.
Well, you know, it is important to give equal justice under the law and truly look towards the needs of the community and look at the facts and circumstances of that particular case and let that be your guidepost for making a decision rather than personal relationships or political affiliation.
Now, with each person, as we said, we talked about there's burning questions, I guess you would call them. You know, people have things on their mind. Who will do this the best or who will do that the best? What is the this or the that people should think about as they decide who they're going to vote for in this district attorney race?
It's a great question, Robbie. Actually, there is a burning question when you talk about who your district attorney should be. And it's simply this. If the person that you loved most in this world were murdered tonight, who would you want showing up at the crime scene advising local law enforcement? And then 6 months later, who would you want giving the closing argument in the courtroom? The answer to that question will tell you who your district attorney should be.
What are the differences in this race?
Since the day I've graduated law school, I have been a prosecutor. I have been that light in the darkness for so many people at their hour of need. I've been a public servant, and I know what it means to benefit your community and work for your community to achieve justice. The difference between myself and my opponent is really one of track record and experience and moving forward commitment. Because let's face it, Robbie, elections are about the future. And I want to be the district attorney in this area for many years to come. I'm confident that I can lead a team of people and successfully bring this office to a place that it's never been.
You and your opponent have been on opposite sides of the courtroom for many years. Some people say, well, everybody has a right to an attorney. Why is it a big deal in this race to vote for the prosecutor versus the defense attorney?
Let me be clear about something. Every defendant has a constitutional right to an attorney. And, you know, ultimately, though, we ask ourselves about track record and experience and whether those experiences you have as a defense attorney are something that would translate to becoming district attorney. We simply don't know that in this case. The problems of our area are profound. It's no time for on-the-job training. We should look very carefully at what both of us have done for the last 15 years. And I think most people would agree that if they look at my track record, they would say this is a person who's committed to working with law enforcement and for victims. And that should give us hope that moving forward, he's going to be a good leader in our community too. And that's why I'm asking for your support.
The bottom line is, John, folks are going to have to choose between yourself and your opponent. If you could give everybody one reason as we close today's conversation, why should they choose you?
I love what I do. I love this area. I'm going to be here a long time. I will be a fair person. I will work closely with law enforcement and for victims and truly deliver equal justice under the law. My name is Jon David, and I'm asking for your vote.
All right, there you go, John. Thank you, as always, for your time. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again in the very near future with Jon David on Law.
Thanks for listening to Jon David on Law, a legal perspective with Prosecutor Jon David. Jon David, candidate for District 13 District Attorney, invites you to learn more about his plan to bring honest, integrity-driven law enforcement to Bladen, Brunswick, and Columbus counties by visiting his website at jondavidforda.com. Tune in next time for another edition of Jon David on Law.